I hope you're doing well. Thanks for taking the time. I don't think we've gotten the chance to ask you about Riley Mulvey since last time we met. How did those conversations go in regards to him enrolling early, and just sort of how did those sort of develop, and when did the idea sort of arise?
We felt like he was close to committing, and I literally watched him grow up. I coached his older brother when he was 10, when I had Connor and Patrick on that team. So that's how long I've known his family. And so we felt like he was going to come. Obviously, we needed size, and felt like he was ready. So we just kind of broached the subject with him. We didn't kind of try to talk him into it. We kind of floated the idea, and he was very receptive, and feels like getting here now, and he got here yesterday, would really benefit him, with our lifting program, our skill development program, and then obviously also our practice sessions. So he's excited to be here. We're excited to have him. Obviously, he'll continue to grow in terms of weight, but also just with his game. But I think he's somebody that we can count on this year.
Don Doxey.
Yeah, Fran, I wonder if you could tell us how J-Bo's doing after his incident a couple of weeks ago, and is he 100%, and just maybe your thoughts on everything that transpired there.
Yeah, he's full go today, so he'll practice today. Talked to him regularly, throughout the summer, and since the season ended, and I think he's in a really good place. Obviously, it was an unfortunate situation that he had to deal with, but I think he's done really well with how he's dealt with it, and anxious to get back out on the floor.
Mike Halas.
Fran, the press release that you put out when that happened, it called it a serious head injury. Was it a serious head injury? And as much as you can talk about it, he must be all right.
Yeah, I mean, he I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to say and all that stuff. But yeah, it was at the time it was a serious head injury, and he's recovered.
Tom Kakert.
Hey, Fran. In the past, you've had some guys that have gone, travel overseas with programs and things like that, take advantage of those development opportunities. Are you going to do that this year with any guys?
Yeah, we're going to have 3 guys go. Keegan, Chris, and Patrick are going to go. The organization they usually travel with is taking 3 teams. It looks like it's going to be to Switzerland to play in a tournament there. Larry Brown's going to coach one team, Boeheim's coaching another team, and Frank Martin's going to coach another team. If for some reason something would happen and we, and Switzerland would be closed, the tournament that we would go to would then be in England. So either way, we're going to go. So it'll be similar to what we've done in the past, Tom. They go into fly to Newark, practice for 2 days at Manhattan College, and then head overseas. So I'm excited for the opportunity for all 3 of them. It's possible that I might be helping Frank, as I think everybody has, and all the coaches have an assistant. So since I'm going to be there, I might be helping Frank. But it's an opportunity for all 3 of those guys to get some high-level competition and some good work in before they go over.
John Bowenkamp.
Hey, Fran, with Joe Toussaint, how big is this summer for him and his development? And what do you think he really needs to work on at this point?
Well, right now he's still recovering from ankle surgery, so he will not be going today. He's close. So right now, all we're worried about, John, with him is getting him healthy and getting him back on the floor. When he does, just continue to progress the way that he has. I mean, he's been a really good player for us for 2 years. His role will obviously increase next year. So we want him to continue on that path, how to run our break, how to run the motion game, how to put pressure on the ball, all the things that he's done well, just continue to get better.
Chad Leistico.
Hey, Fran. We haven't talked to you actually about Jordan's return yet, I do not believe. When he talked to us and, he envisioned himself, or said you envisioned him as a two guard. Is that kind of how, for the most part, is that what you envision him as well? Now that you have a player that is transferred to that position?
Yeah. I think, when you look at our roster, it's different than it was last year without Luka, and certainly with J-Bo coming back and not knowing what's up with Joe Wieskamp. Obviously we're giving him what he needs to figure out is now the right time to head to the NBA. He's really been working hard. I'm talking about Joe Wieskamp now, in preparation for what will potentially be a combine invite and individual workouts for specific teams. So he's in great shape. He's been in Vegas training. He was here for a while, and then he took a little vacation, but he's back training. So, when you lose, Joe Wieskamp's 3-point shooting and Luka's 3-point shooting in particular, obviously J-Bo is a guy that, we play a full complement of games, he's probably going to make 93s. So, he's a guard. Will we play him at the 2? Play him? Yeah. My thought process is to get him as many shots as we can. Will he never play the point? That's probably not going to be the case. He'll play some there, I would think, throughout the course of the season. But really, we felt like somebody who was an elite shooter would really help this team. And I think he saw the same things that we saw, and he wants to help in any way he can.
Back to Tom Kakert.
And one of the questions I get a lot from fans is, are you guys going to be going to a holiday tournament, a MTE or anything like that? What are the plans this year for that?
I think we'll do what we did last year, Tom. Do something here and then move on. Maybe next year, see if we can find one that we think makes sense.
Mike Halas.
With Wieskamp, what do you have conversations with him? I mean, what kind of assurances should he need to leave? What definite things should he need to want to come back?
I don't know that question is easily answered, Mike, because it differs per individual. Some guys get to a point where it's time to go. It's time to start their professional career. Others, I'll go if I get a guaranteed roster spot, or I'll go if I'm guaranteed a two-way. I'll go if I have something guaranteed. Otherwise, I'll come back. But everybody's different. So to be honest with you, you'd have to ask him and have him answer that question. What would it take to say, okay, I'm staying in, or what would it take to come back? Obviously, we would welcome him back. We would love to have him back. He's a terrific player and even better teammate. But he's working hard to fulfill his dream, and we want to support him in any way that we can. He's got an interesting journey. Anybody that's in that position where they're interviewing with teams, working out for teams, going to the combine, it's a highly competitive situation, and he's an incredibly competitive person. So we're rooting for him and helping him any way we can. But as far as, is there anything hard line that he's thinking about in terms of anything other than this? I'm coming back, or I can't answer that. He would have to answer that.
David Eichel.
Yeah, Fran, we saw glimpses of what Chris Murray could do last year. I think specifically when he had a rebound off of Tony Perkins' missed free throw and went up and dunked it. What sort of role do you expect Chris to have this season? What strides do you want him to focus on heading into next season?
Yeah, he's going to be a really integral part of everything we do moving forward. He was, I think, in a great place last year. If we needed to play him more minutes, I have no doubt that he could have. He's a little bit different than Keegan in terms of what he does. They complement each other, so they can play together. The one good thing that happened last year is he played a lot in practice at the 5 spot. He's a bit undersized 5, but he could play there. He played 3, 4, 5 for us last year. He learned all the positions. He's a very good 3-point shooter, which is something our team needs. But I think physically he's in a really good place in terms of his strength and conditioning. I think his confidence is at a really good place. And I'm excited for him to travel with this team overseas. So we'll have him for 2 months here, and then he'll head overseas and then come back, I think, in a position to really be not only a factor for our team, but, in our league.
Don Doxey.
Yeah, Fran, you mentioned that Joe T won't work out today. Is there anybody else? I know you had a lot of other guys that had off-season surgery. Yeah. Who else will not work out today?
Connor and Aaron Eulis will not. They both had surgery as well. So the 3 guys that had surgery are not ready to go yet. But I would say Joe T and Aaron Eulis are really close. Connor is going to, he had basically the same hip surgeries that Jordan had a couple years ago. So he's way ahead of schedule. He's doing pool workouts. He's walking the Carver steps. He's lifting. He'll do some stuff on the side. But I would think full tilt, probably not till we come back in September for Connor.
Chad Leistico.
Right. Another guy we haven't talked to you about yet is Philip Obracha. What role do you see him filling out of the portal? I mean, is he a straight 5 replacement for Luka? But you just mentioned Chris could maybe play the 5 as well. So does he have other options? I mean, how do you envision him fitting into your offense?
I think he fits in perfectly, Chad. I mean, he's a really skilled 6'9" guy that can rebound and can handle it, can shoot it, can drive it. And he can pass. Gives us a lot of versatility. He could play up there with Chris and Keegan, with Patrick. I mean, there's any number of combinations, but I kind of want him to be a guy that is not a straight 5. He'll play the 5. He'll play the 5 a lot, but he'll be out on the perimeter, like we've always done. We basically run a 5-out motion. So, you saw Luka as he was the best low post player in the country, but spent a lot of time on the perimeter shooting the ball. And, took 100 threes. So, I will encourage Philip to shoot the ball outside, to drive and kick to people that are open. He's a perfect fit for our transition and our motion game.
Mike?
Fran, just for a couple questions. So the first one's just for housekeeping on my end. What's the specific team that your 3 players are going to be on? How would I describe that to people?
Yeah, that's a good question because I don't know. This is a little bit different. They typically, Mike, it was called the East Coast All-Stars. But this year they're representing the United States. And it's like the red team, the blue team, and the white team, as far as I know. If there's anything more than that, I don't know.
Well, who's that under the auspices of?
It's the same organization that the guys have gone in the past, Mike, which was the East Coast All-Stars. We probably had nine players, I think, over the years that have gone on this trip. This is just they've only ever taken 1 team. Now they're taking 3. And they're playing in a sort of a basketball festival of some sort. And so I don't know if they'll be wearing USA jerseys or if they're wearing East Coast All-Star jerseys again. And this is kind of, it's all a little bit tentative, right? I have no doubt that the teams are going to be going, but you know, it's obviously an unusual time. Normally we would be pretty certain if we were going to Switzerland or Estonia or Spain. Like, they've gone to all different locations over the years, but this year we have 2 places and we're still not even sure which one we're going to yet. But we're going to go to one of those 2 locations. I really think it'll be Switzerland, and it's quite a trip. You know, they'll go to Zurich, Geneva, Lucerne, and Bern. I mean, so we have a detailed itinerary, but Switzerland, quite honestly, is not open yet for international travel. They suspect that it will be by August. But if by chance it wasn't, we're going to shift and go to the other basketball opportunity in the United Kingdom. And to be honest with you, Mike, I just heard about that yesterday. That if in fact we don't go to Switzerland, we're going to go to the UK.
And they would be on the team Frank Martin's coaching?
No, they're not allowed to all be on the same team.
Oh, okay.
So what I suspect is going to happen is that each one will be on a different team. We could have, you're allowed to have 2 guys on one team and 1 guy on another. So that's a possibility. I would probably prefer to have 1 and 1. But again, I haven't had extensive conversations with the guy Rancourt who puts all this together. And he may have a different plan. He may have one team is all from one particular conference or something along those lines, and then the other guys are spread out. I mean, I'll find out more in the upcoming weeks. So it could be 2 and 1, or it could be 1 and 1.
Okay, well, and then the question that I thought would be the longer one is, what has this off season been like so far in this brave new world of college basketball? Has anything changed with you guys, and how do you see things fitting in with the whole college basketball landscape in general? Because it's certainly been, looking at it from the outside, pretty wild.
Yeah, Mike, it has been. And assuming, and we don't know this, assuming NIL goes through in July, that will further change the landscape of sort of how we do business. So your first question is, you know, what's it been like? Well, it's been completely different. You know, when you have 1,600 plus names that are essentially free agents, you know, so we really don't know, you know, will that number be a consistent number every year? Will it go up? Will it go down? You know, will NIL become something that triggers even more transfers? That's a possibility. NIL is not supposed to become part of the recruiting process, but I think you and I are reasonably intelligent people, and it will be. So we'll have to deal with that. But again, we're dealing with stuff that we haven't dealt with before. So we're all kind of going through this at the same time, dealing with the changes as they come. And I suspect that coaches in my position will, some of us will handle it the same way, some of us will handle it differently. But it's going to be different moving forward as it relates to how you put your team together, essentially. You know, and you know, for years we've always built programs. You bring in young kids and you work with them and you help them get better and you make sure they graduate, and your mentors, your counselors, and then they graduate and you have a relationship with them for a long time. And I suspect a lot of players will be like that, but some will not. Some will chase shots, chase minutes, chase more money. And so that will change how you put your roster together, clearly. And so we have to adjust. You know, we've had to adjust before. I mean, you think about it. I mean, I coached before we had a clock and a 3-point line. Certainly played. So we adjust on the court. You adjust in recruiting. We used to have more time to recruit. Then we had less time to recruit. Then we have more strict rules and have to take a recruiting test and all that kind of, I mean, there's been changes over the years that we all dealt with. So we adapt. And it'll be a different experience for the fans, clearly. You know, and I would hope that my roster would remain somewhat consistent from year to year. But, you know, I've had conversations with some coaches that are fully expecting to turn their roster over at least 50% each year. So that's possible in any given year. You know, you've probably heard, Mike, some programs had 9 or 10 guys in the portal. You know, so if you have 13 on scholarship, that leaves you with not enough players to start the game. But there's a 1,600 names that you can go try to get somebody else. So it's really interesting moving forward how this is all going to sort of end up. But you know, it'll work out. You know, we won't have any trouble getting people interested to come to the University of Iowa and play in the Big Ten. I can tell you that. We'll have plenty of people who want to come and want to put that jersey on. You may have a few more guys that leave here, anywhere else, and then you sign somebody else.
Tom Caker.
Fran, I got twofold question for you. One is, you know, I asked you about guys going overseas. This was supposed to be a year, I think, where you guys were going to go overseas.
Right.
Push that back a year. And also,
yep.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, this is the first time in 15 months you're going to have recruits on campus. How big is that for you guys, and how much are you anticipating? How busy do you anticipate being in June, having guys coming through?
Well, it's really busy, Tom, and you have some athletes who are just anxious to go. As you can imagine, they've wanted to visit campuses either officially or unofficially for 15, 16 months and have not been able to do so. So as soon as it opened up, they want to go. Some of them will want to go officially, some will want to go unofficially. You'll have some guys that want to take 5 visits in June, and then it starts up again. So that's their junior year visits, and then 5 in their senior year, which I think is complicated. You start taking 10 visits, it makes it, you know, a much harder decision in my opinion. But so this month we're having a lot of officials, unofficials, and like I said, some want to take officials right now. Some don't. They want to take nothing but unofficials and wait till the fall. But they do have the option to kind of take more in a shorter period of time. You know, clearly, if it was like it used to be, you'd be able to take 5 as a junior and spread those out, and then take 5 as a senior, which would come a lot quicker. Because pretty much that's starts in the fall. So, you know, we'll be really busy, Tom, with officials and unofficials and on the phone and scheduling, and everybody else is doing the same thing. But every recruiting scenario is different. So every recruit and his family wants to go through the process in a way that they feel comfortable. Some want to quicken the pace, some want to slow it down. But in many ways, they're forced to go a little bit quicker because everything's happening at once. You know, so will we see more guys committing quicker or not? Some will, some won't. So we feel like we're in a good position with some really good players, and we're anxious to get them on campus and anxious to have summer camp. You know, again, all things that, so, you know, we have summer camp, we have recruits on campus, we have practice, we're kind of back to normal.
And Coach, can you confirm that the team will be pushing its overseas trip to next year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not going this year.
Yep.
Yeah, we were excited to go. You know, we are in a position to go, but we had a travel ban to August 1st. So, and we weren't sure whether or not that date would change. So we just decided, you know what, we'll put it off a year. We'll bank the money that we have saved and put in reserve for that trip, and we'll be anxious to go next year.
Okay, final question, Mark Freund.
Hey, Fran. I don't think I've seen anything on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you know, and maybe this is a question for Matt as well, but do you know if there is a timeline for Jordan to decide if he'll press charges in this whole incident, or do you know anything about that process at all?
I don't. You know, I have my opinions on it, but I'll keep them to myself. You know, that's a family matter. It's a personal matter. And, you know, I'm going to support him whatever he decides.